All right, the first leg of playoffs are complete, and we have a lot to talk about. I'm Adrian. Thanks for joining me for the UCL this week. And hey, I'll have an extra video for you tomorrow, so be sure to stick around for that. Subscribe if you're new. Otherwise, thanks for being here. Galatasaray, take a bow. What a performance from them to have Juve on the back foot for almost the entirety of this match. When Juve went 2-1 up in the first half, there was just a touch of feeling like, man, this is undeserved. Galatasaray were perhaps guilty of not creating stupendous chances in the first half, but they made amends in the second, as Noah Lang had a great half. Mind you, before I forget, Barış Alper was a problem all match long for Juve. No goal contributions, but just a headache for Juve all match. But yes, Noah Lang kicked off the turnaround as he jumped on a rebound to bring Galatasaray level. Then from a free kick, Davinson Sanchez had it way too easy to get to the ball. Poor defending from Gatti there. Lloyd Kelly wasn't much better in this match, honestly, though. But yes, Sanchez with the header past Di Gregorio, well, attempted header. Missed it, but it hit his shoulder and still went in to make it 3-2. And just like on the past weekend, Juve found themselves down a man once again as the substitute Cabal managed to get 2 yellows in 8 minutes. So with Juve already down a goal, with Galatasaray already the stronger team on the night, they had this hole to get out of. And they absolutely did not get out of that hole. There was none of the, performance improves a man down kind of magic dust here, as Galatasaray just stepped on the throats of Juve. Lang got another, then late in the match, Sacha Boey made it 5, putting Juve 3 goals down for the return leg. And by the way, Bremer was injured again, guy can't catch a break, and Cambiaso will be suspended for the second leg due to yellow cards. Yikes. Spalletti said that this was 3 steps back for Juventus. I never say never. Fino alla fine, etc., etc., etc. But this will be hard to pull off. It was just the second time in Juve's entire history where they had conceded 5 goals in a single European knockout match. Really, really in bad shape. Again, you never know. Galatasaray are much better at home than they are away. But 3 goals is a tough task for anyone, especially when your own defense will be missing key players. Honestly, this match now feels beyond even analyzing. It's all a bit depressing, but I'll give you a few thoughts before things took a massive, terrible turn. Okay, really, really even in the first half hour or so where Benfica looked dangerous. Pretty much the only time we looked really strong in this match, or the better team. Real Madrid had their moments when they would go forward in that first half hour, but beyond a Courtois save from a deflected effort, good save, not the highest quality chances out there for either side, really. I found that Real Madrid's presence in the midfield was lacking a little bit early on in this one, as just Tchouaméni was out there looking isolated, which meant that Benfica often had Pavlidis and Rafa as passing options, while much of Real Madrid's danger actually came when they worked the ball down the right. Alexander-Arnold looking comfortable. Güler, Valverde contributing from that side as well. And it was that side that saw Alexander-Arnold whipping one cross for Mbappe, but it was just out of reach. But again, Alexander-Arnold looking smooth out there, like he's finding form quickly after returning from injury just a couple of matches prior. We saw Benfica go forward less and less as Real Madrid really turned up the energy and began exposing Benfica's backline it is, for what it is. Fairly shaky, tons of chances, great saves from Trubin, Mbappe over the goal. All of it. And Benfica's shaky back line was, proven in the second half. I spoke with Kian Sobani for managing Madrid in the past prior to the match during the league phase, and I spoke about how our back line is shaky and that Dedic is far better going forward than he is at defending. He showed that in this match, showing Vinicius Jr. onto his favored right foot, and Vinny hit the ball absolutely perfectly, unreachable for Trubin into that top corner. And just before we get to the terrible moment, I do have to say, it is puzzling that Valverde never received a red card for this, literally punching Dal in the head on purpose. All things aside, this is insane to me. But because, 2 things can exist at once. A brilliant football moment from Vinicius will be overshadowed by what came after. So the Benfica players and supporters were upset because they thought Vinicius disrespected the club badge by, dancing on the flag during his celebration and then continuing to celebrate as the crowd hurled insults at him. Honestly, as a Benfica supporter, it didn't really bother me that much. Maybe I'm a little too apathetic, but when your manager is a man who has done this in the past, and we celebrate that like he celebrated against Real Madrid, we can't start playing celebration police. But fine, get upset about it. But then allegedly Prestiani lifted his shirt to cover his mouth and call Vinicius a monkey. That's what Vinicius has said happened. And by the way, he reacted so instantly. What other players said, Mbappe's reaction and calling Prestiani a racist, and Prestiani not looking confused or shocked by the accusation. Vinicius, he has a long list of incidents involving racism in the past, all of which had video evidence that it happened. Some of which saw stadium bans. One saw actual prison sentences for hate crimes. This is not someone who, this is not a boy who cries wolf situation. Unfortunately, we don't know for sure what was said, not yet at least, because Prestiani covered his mouth, which is fairly cowardly. But the fact that Prestiani did that, why would you do that? What reasons would you have to cover your mouth so that nobody knows what you're saying? If you're covering your mouth, you're probably saying something incredibly disrespectful. Otherwise, why would you do it? Gotta be honest, didn't care about the rest of the match after that. It all felt very weird. But what I saw later from SL Benfica's social media channels and Jose Mourinho himself, even weirder. I did an entire short on this, a 2-minute one, which I can link in the comments for you guys to get more of my thoughts and so I don't retread things too much, but it's been a complete embarrassment. The very first thing that Benfica should have said was that racism is not tolerated at the club, that racism is never justified, and they will investigate this matter. Easy, right? What did they do instead? Not knowing the truth of the matter, say that they are standing with Prestiani, then shared a ridiculous video where they tried to claim that the Real Madrid players are liars and that it could never be true what they're claiming because of the distance between them and Prestiani. It's silly. Let's call a potential victim of racism a liar. That's a good look and could absolutely come back to burn you horribly. What a mess. So, Real Madrid take a 1-0 advantage back to the Bernabeu. The atmosphere there is going to be insane. No Mourinho on the touchline. He had some unbelievable things to say. Also, by the way, how Benfica cannot be racist because their club legend is a black player, which is the old, our friend is black, so we cannot be racist line of thinking. He said how Vinny should have just walked back calmly after scoring a goal like that, implying that, you kind of invite this, which is rich coming from this guy, the guy that does this. Anyway, I'm disappointed in my club. Horror opening 25 minutes from PSG. Go down 2 goals due to some spotty defending. Fuller and Balogun was looking on it out there. Then PSG missed a penalty as Vitinha hit it well, but Kon made an unreal save. Then Ousmane Dembele had to be subbed out. However, Dembele going off led to Doué scoring with pretty much his first touch of the match, barely on the pitch for 2 minutes before he had scored. Instant impact. It was still a pretty back and forth match at this point, with AS Monaco looking like they could add a third, Balogun in particular looking ominous, but PSG are a top side with quality players all over the place, and for what they had been lacking in defense in this match, they were solid in the attack. Not at their best, but solid. Desiree Doué causing issues once again as he cut inside and forced a big save out of Kon, and from a very tight angle. Impressive finish from Hakimi. The last thing you want is a resurgent PSG, and then you have to play them when you are a man down as well. That's exactly what happened early in the second half, as a nasty mistake from Golovin saw him rake down Vitinha's leg. Red card there. And fair play to AS Monaco. They held PSG off for a while, but eventually a well-worked move saw Doué finish brilliantly for his second of the match. PSG suffer a scare, but win 3-2. And I really think that Desiree Doué is very important to PSG's success. So if he finds his form here, not been very good in 2026, if he finds his form here, he's going to be, he's sort of that X factor player for them, in my opinion. This is something that I said in a BR football video. I think that he is central to their chances of winning any silverware, or I guess more silverware. They won the Trophée des Champions already. But anyway, not a very impressive performance from PSG at all. Could be chalked up to, a very unfortunate 25 minutes that saw them concede twice, miss a penalty, and lose Dembele, but their form has not lived up to last season's as a whole. Now, if this is the beginning of Doué turning the tide on his form, which has been poor since the start of the year, as I said, could be an incredible lift for their attack, especially since it looks like Dembele is out once again. Both of these guys have had stop-start seasons with injuries could be, part of the explanation as to why PSG have struggled a bit more this season. You knew it was going to happen, right? I said it in the preview that no matter how Borussia Dortmund are playing, I think they're going to fail, and somehow, some way, they end up doing well. Such a weird club, but they make it fun, right? Surprises are the spice of life. Good surprises, at least. Surprises like this, I consider a good surprise. Like I said, they had a draw with Bodo Glimt, and then 2 losses to Spurs and Inter. So things weren't looking spectacular for them, but they controlled this match against Atalanta very well. And hey, guess who followed up with a fantastic performance? Serhou Guirassy. I called out his Champions League form and how it hadn't matched that of last season's, and clearly he's a Rabona TV watcher. I'm kidding, by the way. We're irrelevant here. But the big man got a goal and an assist. The assist was nice. The finish from Bayer was very clumsy. He nearly cleared it over the bar from an open goal, but Guirassy's headed goal was a stunner. Maybe not what you would think of when you think of a classic stunner, actually. Not a strike from range or a slaloming run before a goal, but the definition of a towering header. That man flew. And he devoted the goal to a family member who passed away, so rest in peace to them. I think what impressed me in this game was, again, how controlled Borussia Dortmund were. Did it make for a great watch in the second half? No. But from their point of view, protect that 2-0 lead to take with them to Bergamo. They limited Atalanta to 0.27 expected goals in the second half, just to give you an idea of how little joy Atalanta were getting going forward. It's not over by any means, as Atalanta are a very good side. Hopefully the second leg is a good game. Atletico Madrid in some strange form recently, but fresh off of torching Barcelona 4-0 last week, traveled away to take on Club Brugge, and man, it looked like they were going to cruise through this match as they went ahead early from the penalty spot. Then Lookman made it 2-0, and at that point it was a pretty harsh scoreline, honestly. Despite a comfy lead for Atletico, Brugge were by far the better team, but it looked like, hey, this team, after beating Barca, they're on fire now. This is them turning it around. But that feeling of unfair continued throughout this match. Club Brugge continued to be the better team despite being 2-0 down, and in the second half, they were rewarded for it. 2 goals in 8 minutes saw Atletico's lead rightfully get tossed in the bin, and Brugge back on level standing until their over-exuberance saw them score an own goal and fall behind again 3-2. 3 unfortunate goals to concede, hey? The penalty, what was almost an Olympico from Griezmann that ended up being a Lookman goal, and then that own goal, ugh. But again, across the balance of play, they were superior, so thankfully sometimes, the football gods can be good, and they drew themselves level once again. Frustrating for them because it's a 3-3 that could have been a 3-1 or a 3-2 win in their favor before heading to the Metropolitano. For Atletico Madrid, that 4-0 win over Barcelona is looking more and more like an anomaly because after this draw, they have just 2 wins in their past 10 matches. I was trying to think back on the last time they won a trophy, and if they fail to win anything this season, their only possibilities are La Liga and the Champions League now. That will make it 5 years without a single trophy. That would be the longest stretch that they have been trophyless in Simeone's time in charge. Inter playing away at El Plástico to face Bodo Glimt, and again I find myself so impressed with how Bodo have been playing recently. Bodo only have now about a month until their domestic season begins, still in preseason right now, kind of, besides the Champions League that they've been playing, and yet they give so much trouble to another European giant. Again, they impressed with their passing and movement, the third man runs, how they can cut through opposing defenses, and being able to cut through a defense like Inter's, not at their best in that part of the pitch this season, but still very impressive from them and how they continue to create chances for themselves against Inter. It wasn't just, a goal against the run of play and then sitting in their own box. No, they were picking their moments to go forward, defending well against Inter, and then striking. Now they head to Milan with a 2-goal cushion. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination. You have to expect that Inter will be a completely different animal in Milan, but it's quite the story all the same. It's incredible to see this team go from The Arctic Circle guys virtually eliminated with a couple of matches to go in the league phase. And their final 2 matches were against Man City and Atletico Madrid. They beat Man City at home. Then they go away to Atleti and beat them in Madrid to just slip through in their first attempt at doing so in this competition. Then in their match against one of the finalists from last season, they get a comfortable 3-1 win. Unreal. Their supporters are eating good. So after losing to Olympiacos previously, Leverkusen got a big 2-0 win away to Olympiacos in Piraeus. 2 goals in just 3 minutes from Patrick Schick, and you can't say that they didn't deserve it. Olympiacos did have a goal called back, and it was one of those ones where he's just centimeters offside, so you feel for them there. Also, Alex Garcia of Leverkusen could have been sent off for this horrible tackle, but if you're Leverkusen, you're extremely pleased with this result. And finally, you have Newcastle United absolutely destroying Qarabag. Not a huge surprise here, though they did do it in Baku, which surprised me a little bit. But hey, Anthony Gordon with 4 goals, 2 from the spot to take his tally up to 10 in 9 appearances. That's a lovely goal haul. 5 of the 10 from the penalty spot, but still, I mean, you still got to convert them, right? It's possible to miss. Surely this tie is over. And surely this video is over. But thank you for watching, my friends. Like I said, I'll have another video for you tomorrow, as mentioned, so stick around for that one. But other than that, have a great weekend, guys. Take care.